I don't know, I'm different, but in my own way, and I can't really describe it. Peculiar is a good word. No, I don't know. Eccentric.
It's just about, I feel, being just that bit different, but not sort of like wearing a lampshade on your head, that sort of thing.
Me? How would I describe myself? It's cliched, I guess, but yeah, as a mod, I guess.
Started to get into soul and stuff about 16, sort of when you get over the sort of scruffy teenage skater years that everyone has. And then sort of started getting into it through my parents, really. And then just sort of expanded it from there.
My mum was a fashion designer and in Milan, and my dad used to be a suede head back in the 70s and stuff, so I've always been interested in clothes. And then before I got into like 60s soul and R&B, I was always interested in like reggae and ska, so I was always interested in like this smoothie and suede head and skinhead thing.
I grew up in Hong Kong, and it generally out there, the sort of English schools were like, you kind of listen to this music, but there was more to it, and that I wanted to try out certain different things, and basically as I've kind of grown older, you just kind of get into certain things that create the way you are.
So it's really something that you can find out about on your own. If you sort of the first sort of night, particularly for the R&B mod type thing, just a mate from home. I used to go to like Northern nights, and he said, I think you'd like this more, sort of thing, and took me to Stepping Out, which used to be on, and just thought, this is seriously cool. Love the clothes, always been into my clothes, stuff like that, and sort of, I didn't really have the money. I think the first thing I went to was quite late, really, in terms of getting into it, about 18, 19. But, and then sort of you get a bit more money, start working, and then the clothes come with it. It's not really the most important thing, but it's part of what it is. It's been sort of like a progression. I used to start off, like I said, early on, bit sort of tight t-shirts, bit indie really, I suppose, and then you wear a Fred Perry top, and then you see, oh mate, he's got look at his trousers sort of thing, and you get ideas, and it just grows yourself. I think everything's all together, the music, people, clothes, the style, and if you get it, that's the most important thing.
There's certain things that I look to for influence, like for clothes, I look at sort of a lot of stuff from kind of Hardy Amos archives, just because of the tailoring is just amazing. But then it's just really what you see on other people, and just in general, just going out, like you can just pick up certain feelings of stuff, but then make it your own. And I think that's about it, really. I don't really kind of feel that there's anybody that I kind of like aspire to be. Well, I haven't found them yet, that's for sure.
My two most influential people probably Oswald Boateng from the Savile Taylor, just purely because of about how his design is quite simple, a lot of it, but it's quite understated. So it's like he stands out compared to a lot of other high street brands, because even though his prices may be the same as like Hugo Boss or whatever, he's still doing like, he could get a black suit, but when it sits on someone, it just looks amazing. It's like in the detail and about the cut and stuff like that. And obviously as well, Claudio from DNA Groove, who is a company that a lot of us buy our clothes from. So just him doing stuff like taking things that traditional mod designs, such as button-down shirts and whatever, and a lot of them are just done in normal ginghams or whatever, and he'll do it he'll just add more details, different cuts of shirts, more vibrant colours, like Oswald Boateng. When you go in the shop, all these guys in the shop, they're wearing bright green and bright orange suits, and it's just something a bit different,
Generally, I really like going to charity shops, and I like going to markets and things like that, and picking up bits that no one else really would have, because a lot of the time you could go into a kind of a vintage store and they'd have kind of 10 of one thing, and I like that to a degree, because you get a sort of identity and it's already there for you. But I really like the fact of rooting around and finding something kind of a bit different. There's so many shops, but that you'd never think that you'd go into, and you find this just amazing piece, and you would never expect to find it in there. I picked up an amazing 50s double-breasted pea coat the other day, and it was in this shop that I never thought it would have. But it's just, that's the whole fun bit about it. It's that thing that keeps you alive and keeps it interesting.
a lot of the 70s we don't really like, not affiliate with, if you see what I mean, but that's when it all started branching off into punk and a lot of more different styles. And the music at that point, I hate the Jam, I hate Secret Affair. To me, it's all bollocks. And I think a lot of the style now is going back to a much earlier period, really early 60s, listening to late 50s, early 60s R&B and stuff like that, and maybe more jazz and stuff. And the style is going a lot more, like early 60s Italian short long freezer jackets, everyone's immaculate, and it's also influenced by a lot of Ivy League stuff and Madras jackets, sack jackets, all that kind of thing. So I think that it's maybe going back to its roots, and even, obviously they were sharp in the 60s, but even when you go to a club now, I think people are better dressed now, and I think that styles has changed as well, but I think it's still smart.
It's not always searching because you want to be different, you want to make a statement to people. It's not that. It's sort of the way that you want to go and take yourself in, and it just kind of can set yourself apart from the rest. But it's not intentional. It's not that I want to be different because I want people to notice me, because it's nothing in the slightest, I'd gladly go under out of the radar and not people notice, then people think, oh, he's just doing that just for attention, I choose to wear my fur coat because I want to wear it, not because I'm thinking, oh, people are going to, but it's nice. It is really nice, especially when you go out and there's people that sort of respect what you're wearing, and really, and the whole, our whole gang, there's always a sort of camaraderie with each other that, oh, that looks really sharp, or, and you just take little bits of that, and, oh, nice detail, that little, that button on the bottom of your trouser with this, it's just little details. And I think that's what it's about, really. This whole scene is sort of the detailing and the attention to detail, and then of course the other things,
There's a good gang of us, but there's not that many younger people into this, so it would be great. But then on the other side, there's that kind of elite thing where you kind of think, actually, we're pretty cool, like we're sort of not one of a kind. Well, we are in a way. We all dress within the same genre, but all in all, none of us have come in the same jacket, the same pair of trousers, same shoes.
That's where the modern movement came from the beginning, though, because even now it's not like that, but it's like people who had no money, but they wanted to look like they own the fucking world, and they were smart, so, yeah.
I like to dress smarter, and I always get, oh, you dress like a granddad by people, but it's just, if you get an understanding, if people get an understanding of what, just putting yourself out in a bit of a better way, I just think it makes you feel a bit better.
They get it, but they don't, because we're all friends, I'll still go to the pub with them and just do normal things, but only a few of them that are sort of into music, into other things, come and go. They've all come and gone, this is amazing, but they probably wouldn't dress like it, maybe because it's not them, but, it doesn't matter about that, really. It's just yourself, isn't it, I suppose?
I don't look in the mirror and think, oh, I look like a fucking really attractive. I just like the clothes, but I feel, I guess that I'm better dressed than them. People just follow fashion or throw away fashion as opposed to style, and style is a more permanent thing. Talking about Boateng as well, he's just doing a classic Savile Row thing, which is much more permanent, If you buy something from Primark for £10 and then throw it away when you're finished with it, instead of maybe spending more money on like 80 quid or whatever, 100, 200 quid on a pair of shoes that are going to, last.
A couple of years ago, it was the whole indie thing. Everyone just started dressing like Alexa Chung all of a sudden, and all the gold bands around the head. And those are the people at school that used to be, when we were in the common room playing, like the bands went up sort of 5-6 years ago when I was in sixth form, was, like your Strokes and Libertines and Jet and Kings of Leon, the first album and stuff like that. They'd be the ones going, oh, what's this? Put something else on. And now they're there jumping around because it's the in thing. That's just, that's one thing I get, I do get annoyed about it. I just think false, it's just, not cool.
Subcultures are really dead, in that then there's no new subcultures particularly, but I think that the 60s style is something that is always repeated upon, like in the media, and they always return back to that as like a high point of fashion,
I think some people think that we just live in the 60s and all have the first toaster ever in our house and stuff like that, and it's a lot of people, and this is what annoys me about forums and things as well, don't realise this is now.
I think, with the advance in technology, you can't try and pull yourself away from it. Otherwise, you become a distant member of society, and you can't just. There's people I've heard who I don't know. You know, just 60s electrical items, toasters, microwaves, or I don't even know if microwaves in, but you know, kettles, everything. And I just feel as though that's you know, that's a nice thing. But if you just put yourself just to that, you can't. You just can't. You need to sort of be open. It's about being open and to change, as well as keeping sort of core values and identities, which is about the whole thing really is based on having respect.
I could go on for hours about, like, read things on mod culture and things like this about people going on about it being the past and the whole, like, Parker, desert boot type thing. There's nothing wrong with that, but this is now, and it should be about being modern.
I don't download music because I just don't like digitalised music. I get given CDs from DJs and mates and stuff, and that puts me onto tunes. But there's nothing like you don't like when you. I had an iPod, you know, and it was always in the background. I never really listened to the music, and I just had so much music. I had too much to listen to, and my iPod broke, and I thought I don't really need another one. Digitalised music has none of that quality, none of that depth of the vinyl format.
I love it when you go out and someone gives you a CD and you might have heard 10 of them, but the 11th one you haven't heard, and then you can go and try and find it on vinyl, and it's just, there's a hunt there and you've got to track it down. And
I mean, you can kind of see in the way, like, CDs are being phased out, tapes are being phased out, and digitalised music is becoming even more digitalised. Like, artists are just releasing stuff into MP3 format, yet the vinyl is still, I mean, if someone turns up and they're playing off a laptop, well, basically, I think they're a twat. We call them laptop Larrys, you know. But it's like, if someone if you're going to respect someone, they got original records, you know, and then vinyl, and I don't think that is something that will die fast. I mean, it's still going, 50 years later. Well, I don't know when vinyl was registered in the 30s, wasn't it? 20s, and it's still, people are still collecting it. People are willing to still shell out hundreds of pounds for records. So I mean, yeah, I think it's very much alive.
yeah, I'm a snob. I just think there's something just right about it. People turn up with their records that they've put care into, they've collected, especially with the bigger stuff. It makes you think more. I can't afford to go out and buy £500-600 records like some people, but I'll find one, I guarantee, that's 10 quid that everyone knows but won't play. Some DJs, there's that thing that they won't play because they've got one that's so rare, and but I'm a bit of a snob like that, I'll be honest. I think if you could play off CD, it'd kill it, because you'd be tempted to, even though I care about it too much to do that, but you'd be tempted just to go, right, I'm going to play bang, bang, bang. Every tune's like £1,000's worth. Like, not that anyone in the audience would know that, which is why it doesn't matter, but it's just the sound, it's just something about putting it on, and you know that the DJs sweated their balls off to find that sort of thing. So
yeah, I mean, it looks fucking cool when you turn up to a venue, you know, and you got your record box in the hand and you put that on, people are like, oh, you DJ on vinyl, yeah. Like, even though it sounds elitist, it is, I don't care. You do DJ only original records, you know, it's about collecting and chasing and trying to find the tunes you want to play. And yeah, obviously it looks cool. I love the way it looks as well. If
you go to a night and you know that only that DJ's got that song, there's something cool about that. You look forward to hearing it, and when you hear it, it's amazing. Whereas if you had it on CD, you listen to it over and over again, it just becomes sort of mundane, like, not mundane, but you know what I mean. It's sort of, well, it does. It just becomes a bit same old.
You sit around with a few mates, you've got some beers, and just playing records, or just even listening to a record. It's listening to music, just 1/7. That's why I think the 7-inch is the best format, because it's just one record, and you bought it just, 50 quid or whatever, just for that record, and it's that good that you're willing to spend that money on it, and that is fucking passion, isn't it?
When you hear a record, and literally, sometimes I'll hear a record for the first time, you know from the first sort of 2 beats that it is just incredible.
The words in the songs, everything is so relevant to now. That's the way I see it. I listen to the songs and don't think, oh, I'm listening to old music, this is cool.
It sounds so corny in a sense, but your body literally moves to it, and you know all the beats and the rhythm. It's incredible. It is like a really amazing thing. I love dancing.
It's amazing. That's one thing that people that are new to it always comment on. Like, nobody dances in modern day. I think people are too embarrassed to dance, I think. But really, you're expressing yourself, and I don't see why more people don't do that. It's one of the only things, if you probably think about it, scenes I can think of that I know, other than like the rocking kind of drive thing, that people actually dance. And you look around, everyone's smiling, having a laugh. It's amazing. like really is, and that's what people as well, like friends that I've taken things like Crossfire and have commented on and love, and it's like, why don't you do it? Just come on.
It's just like, it's the biggest buzz. No one ever taught any of us to dance. And I always get people when I go to a club that isn't a mod club, and people go, oh my God, who taught you to dance? Where did you learn to dance like that? But it's the same as you're talking about clothes. It's just in a form of expression. And you don't think, oh, I'm going to put my foot here, I'm going to put my foot there, I'm going to do a spin. You just do it because that's how good the music is, and it's just got that beat, and it inspires you, you know?
A lot of people say this actually when we go out. You know, oh, where do you learn to dance like that? Are you trained and all this? But not that they're saying that I'm amazing, but it's something that is so good. It's such good fun, and if all your friends, do it together, it's incredible. A really good feeling.
Sometimes you go to a club and then there'll be all the R&B mods or whatever and then there'll be all the swirlies, as we call them, and then it's like some people dance to some kind of music and some people dance to other kind of music. But that's why, because I think the music of it, it can be so rigid, and some clubs only play early R&B, but then I think the 60s spectrum music is so wide that you shouldn't have to. I mean, like we were playing earlier, loads of European and jazzy stuff and loads of Latin stuff, so I think that it, in some ways it's closely defined, but in other ways it's not, if you see what I mean. In other ways it's open-ended and you can do what you want with it, that's why it's great. But in other ways it is defined, as in like there's a set way of dressing, I guess.
Music is one of the things, I mean, in clubs there's always the trends in music, be it that it's still 60s, 50s music, it's not, there's still the trends and people are changing, and there's clothes, people are liking this sort of clothes and that. And I think it has changed, but there's still the sort of core values. In terms of the scene, in terms of scooters, basically, people back in the 80s and 70s, it was still a mode of transport which people were using to get around, and there was the huge youth culture still, early, young 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds, just using that as their sort of means of getting around. Whereas now I think that a lot of scooters are being sort of taken and hoarded by people. I mean, I'm not one to talk because, people are, doing them up, spending tens of thousands of pounds on them and not really riding them when they should be ridden, really. I like to have a varied kind of a collection of scooters. I've got about 8 scooters at the moment. I'm really into, at the moment, vintage scooters, vintage Vespas. It's nice to sort of set it in a time period. But yeah, the scooter scene in general, really, it needs more people to be into it, and not just people who drive around wearing a parka and desert boots and that's it. It needs to be, it's understood that, yeah, it's a very big part of the heritage of it, but there's more to it. There's more about it, and the sort of design and everything, all those elements.
No, I think in the 70s it was a big thing, and like with scooter boys was even a separate culture. I think now, but I don't think it's necessary at all. I think that's kind of detached from the scene. It's like associated with it, but not, if you see what I mean.
This whole scene is an element of sort of snobbery that people feel there is, but I don't think it's snobbery. I think some people are very snobby about it and try to sort of make it their own and feel it's their thing, but it's actually, it's not. It was what people created, 50 years ago. So to sort of make it your own and do something a bit different, but keeping it within the sort of realms of the subculture, I think is key.
Close music and going out, yeah, that's it. To be honest, there's simple pleasures in life. There's not that much more, which is good.
If you just take a step back from it and just look at it for the kind of aesthetical values and just about having a laugh and just dressing however you want, but in that certain style, that's where you find the happiness, instead of having to always try and push yourself through.
It's like an understanding, without being all northerny about it, like they say about a way of life, but I don't think about it. That's why it's hard to explain. I don't actually sit there and go, right, this is it. But I just get it. I get what it's about and what it's meant to be, and all the people you meet. You can meet someone that you've never seen, and you just know that they get it as well. It's amazing.